Hi, everyone. Welcome to week two. So, we obviously covered some ground in the very first week, just in terms of getting familiar with Dunbar Ortiz's The Indigenous People's History of the United States, and just kind of getting from a familiar sense of kind of where we are going with this course, and the fact that we are introducing concepts of decolonialism, post-colonialism, and the decolonial narrative by vis-a-vis the um, the indigenous genocide and colonial domination. Now, this is going to be a journey over the next 2 quarters, um, but we want to start at the very beginning. And so, this week is quite a bit of reading that specifically documents the European mindset, even though we are going to be covering a little bit about the what the North American continent was like prior to uh, Columbus's discovery or mistake and and the beginning of the colonization of North America. So we are at once getting a portrait of what life may have been like prior to. But what we are largely embarking on this week is examining why the European mindset was colonial to begin with. Um, that is a dominant mindset, one that has now kind of um, become pervasive over the entire world. And there are various forms of colonialism, right? Um, this is what we would call overt colonialism, this beginning where Europeans began to settle in other places and establish their own mercantile systems in these other places, utilizing the resources. This is quite unique to the European mentality, and because it's become so pervasive and dominant um, all over the globe at this point, sometimes we think of it almost as synonymous with just human beings, but that's not the case. It is a mindset that sought, to some degree, a sense of domination. Maybe not intrinsically, but certainly the outcome was that there was kind of a domination over many communities and lands. So I think it's really important that we understand, well, where does that come from? What is the ideology that governs the European mind that even beget the idea of colonialism and what we're going to refer to on Thursday as settler colonialism? So we just need to read about this stuff. It's a lot of information. So we are reading several chapters in Indigenous Peoples History, as well as a Fihiko article that specifically looks at how these individuals who were encountering one another for the first time in history viewed one another, at least based on the documentation that we currently have, which is, of course, limited in many respects. And that's our focus. This week is reading. This week is becoming familiar with a history that perhaps we have not become familiar with yet. And it's not just the what and the what, it's also, who were Europeans at this time and what motivated them to engage in this settler colonialism that we now understand decimated the population in North America. So be diligent about the reading. And we have reading responses this week to also provide you opportunities just to kind of reflect on the information that you find to be most pertinent or that's resonating with you most, that raises the most questions for you. Because a little later in the quarter, when we begin to suss out this information and formulate more investigative questions, that we then can engage as a class in discussions with. Um, we need to have that foundation, that historical foundation, that ideological foundation, to be able to perform those further investigations. So, get to reading. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Um, I have my office hours, um, and you're welcome to make an appointment for one of those. Just email me or text me. I'm also going to see if I can scan these latest chapters, just because of the challenges regarding getting the book. So hopefully you will see those pop up in Camino shortly. Otherwise, enjoy the readings. Reach out to me if you need.